Hey everybody. So this is actually gonna be my first, traditional video. Where I just sit down like the Gojira, or now we're turning it into the Godzilla talker, where I'm just talking. This is the Gojira talk, kind of thing in my videos, and it took me long enough, but I'm doing it. And our first episode of this, hopefully series, I might just make them randomly and not connect them at all, but you know it depends on how much time I have. Anyway, so we're doing this. We're just doing this Godzilla X Kong. Like, we're trying to figure out some kind of theory. And I already have my own thoughts on how this movie might play out. So, obviously, there's going to be major spoilers ahead. I also want to get that clear that, I'm going to eventually do a Godzilla minus one review. And I'll just tell you, it's the best since the original. It's probably on the same level as the original in my eyes for a really, truly dark and disturbing Godzilla movie. It's not really disturbing. People, actually actually imply like deaths, and I mean, no, there's a lot of on-screen death and stuff in that one, the newest one, but that one, the original, has like little children screaming in the hospital. That one scene, what I'm talking about. I'll put it on screen right now. That makes the original more disturbing, but still on the same level. I'm just saying it's still really truly scaring and horrifying versus Godzilla. And it's probably the best one to come out since the original. So, it's been 70 years of Godzilla, and we finally got another one that can match the original. So that's pretty incredible. Anyway, on to the actual theorizing. So, anyways, as you can tell, for first off, the new villain we gotta talk about, Scar King. Most people think, or at least from what I've seen, that he just happens to be an orange ape, like King Louis or whatever. People have been theorizing it looks like that. Well, he does look like it, at least from the first couple images we got of him. Now it's like, okay, he's got some like different patterning on him, like on his face, as you can see in this image, in this toy leak. Which, spoiler alert, there's a toy leak for the Playmates action figures. You can definitely see that there's white, somewhat on his body, and you can tell he got the whip thing. So it looks like he'll be a really lethal threat. Say Godzilla and Kong, and it'll take the both of them to fight it, which obviously is obvious because it's Godzilla and Kong, not Godzilla versus Kong. So maybe basically that, honestly, people are thinking he's just a red thing. Well, no, I saw this on one other guy, I forgot his name, say that, well, from this toy leak you can see there's a lot more white on him, and people, I thought, and this other guy, from a couple other people I've heard, all say, well, what if he's not red? What if he's not naturally a red, you know, you know, red? He's an albino, so he the reason he's red is because he slaughtered the Kong species, or not really, because we now know that there's supposed to be more in the Kong species because of that trailer. And there's a spot image in the trailer that shows King Kong, and just looking like he isn't like phased at all. Uh, and then all the other Kongs around him look terrified. So that's just implying he hasn't seen his relatives and didn't know they existed. So he's just kind of happy and excited to be there, which isn't really excited. He's a little confused too in the image, and everyone else is terrified. That's just making me think he doesn't know who this new guy is. Uh, and the reason he doesn't recognize him is he wasn't born as a red, ape. He was an albino ape who, after slaughtering some of the Kong species to take over the Hollow Earth, or wherever the Kong species is living at this particular moment, he bathes himself in the blood. Yeah, it sounds very like very brutal, and that kind of hypes it up for being a really big threat, which makes sense because it's just a version of Kong. Otherwise, if there's red blood, red, it signifies that he uses blood of Kongs as battle paint to signify his dominance and his power, and you can see in his eyes and some of the images that he's blue. I think that's him harnessing some of the Hollow Earth powers. That's what helps him out from becoming, just a normal Kong species member. And that the reason, if it was red, it wouldn't make sense because it's not a Kong species. But what if it grew up in the Kong species and was just a normal guy? Or a normal guy, but albino, white, And the reason why he wants to take over the Hollow Earth, I think this is my part of the story, I'm not sure if he said this too, is that back in the day, the reason why he wanted to take over the Kong species is because he was born albino, and people, some of the Kong species, shunned him and made him an outcast because he looked different, kind of like that. Like albinoism is a, skin defect or something. I forgot what exactly it is, but that's he got picked on or whatever. Yeah, I know it's more humanizing of kaiju, which I don't really like particularly, but I think it makes sense why he would want to take over. It's just not some truly evil. Yes, it's like some kind of backstory, which brings me to Kong's son slash young Scar King. I don't know. People are saying it's not little Kong. It's the trailers say that to fake it out, and maybe it is Scar King as a kid or whatever. That doesn't make sense because this movie takes place after the events of Godzilla X Kong. So if he's a baby and he still has the axe, that means it must have taken place after Godzilla X Kong, right? So that means Scar King, it would take place, during Godzilla X Kong, because it's right after, because he has his axe. He didn't have his axe way back when, he saw this baby Kong, and then, it's confusing. Why would they think it was Scar King? Because then you would know, oh, there's more Kong species out there. Maybe that's a plot device for him looking at the, no, then Scar King's there in the Hollow Earth. It just makes no sense, that theory. So what I'm thinking is that this is actually Kong's species, and I can prep, this is Kong's son or something, some kind of relative of Kong, and not the Scar King, younger version of Scar King. I can prove this because if we go back to the very original 1933 King Kong and the sequel, Son of Kong, which is in 1934 or 5, somewhere around there, maybe 1933, was a really rushed movie. Anyways, the Kong in there is a completely different color than the Kong in the original, as you can see by these promotional images. So maybe that's why he's red, is because red Scar King, he's red because it's kind of like a callback to the original King Kong, where King Kong is like a brown fur, and then his son has white fur, which is kind of is confusing because Scar King might be albino and all that, but there's got to be some kind of subtle reference there, maybe, and that's the reference point that fans can figure it out. How it is, and just take the name of Son of Kong from that movie. His name is Kiko, and the toy leaks for Kong's son call him Suko. Kiko Suko. Kiko Su. See, it has the same kind of ring to it, which is why I think it all connects together to be. It's kind of confusing, to be his actual son or a relative that actually leads him to the Hollow Earth to discover the rest of the Kong species. But he's so young that he doesn't realize that Scar King is bad. He wants to make him the heir to the throne or whatever. Or maybe he doesn't if Scar King dies. I don't know. I'm getting too far ahead of myself now. As if I wasn't already. But anyway, that's the whole Scar King backstory, and the whole Suko is Scar King kind of situation. It just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, that's a lot to take in. So next we have this new toy leak, which is, well, it's not the new toy leak. We saw it in the trailer. The Beast glove. That's what it's called, the BEAST glove, which is yellow. It has, it's like an infinity gauntlet. People were joking about it. Well, you know, I think I saw somewhere that I forgot. I couldn't find an image, but I thought I saw some kind of image of the toy a while back. I couldn't really research and find it again. Of the Beast glove having like lightning powers or something, like some kind of like electricity running through it. It wouldn't just be a glove or something, as we were led to believe. It could be a power up. Well, also another theory I've said is Kong have a battle with Star King in the Hollow Earth in that one scene, because he doesn't have a Beast Club on in that scene. So he gets his arm injured, and then the Titan Tech, which is this guy named Tracker, who is a Titan technician who is like kind of helps the Titans, heals them, and runs that kind of thing. Tracker, he is going to be one who makes the Beast Glove for Kong so he can go back and fight him again. And that's where Godzilla comes in to help him out too. And Beast Glove is going to have a power up too, which has electricity powers, kind of like a throwback to the 1963 King Kong versus Godzilla, where he gets struck by lightning. He has lightning powers, whereas this one is like a bionic glove that actually has it built in, and not just getting struck by lightning and having lightning powers, which is a little bit more far off and not as grounded. Which none of this stuff is really grounded in reality in any sort of way, but that's just that kind of thing. So I'm thinking the Beast Glove is kind of a callback to that, and that's going to help him out as well as having Godzilla and this powered up form. Which that leads me. It's a great segue into my next segment, which is explaining, which pretty much everyone already has pretty much explained Godzilla's origin. So, if we look on the scale of radiation, radioactive light, blue is somewhere, in the middle of destructive and radiation potential. Pink is on the extreme side of the spectrum. So it's gonna be it's the most powerful type of like color of radiation light. So what I'm thinking is pink is the evolved form. So that's how he uses the Hollow Earth energy that he gets, by hibernating in the Hollow Earth, which again is gonna segue me right into Shimo, which we'll get to that later. Shimo, battles him, which he looks like he's a big threat on his own to Godzilla, and that's why we see Godzilla in the ice cube, in the iceberg. And we know that Shimo is ice powered, so he beats Godzilla. He gets frozen in the Hollow Earth or somewhere, just kind of encases him in there, where he builds up his energy from the Hollow Earth. So he kind of hibernates there, and when he gets powered up enough, he breaks out of the ice, maybe instinctually to fight Scar King or something else with his new power ups, and that's why we see him pink. So he gets all this power and he goes pink, and that's why pink is on the extreme side of the radiation spectrum, because he'll be more destructive, it's evolved form, blah blah. And then Shimo, obviously, I just described how he was the one who why Godzilla's in ice, because they had a battle. And that's a lot of it. So Scar King, Shimo, and then we also got the return of Titanus Doug, which is also in the toy leak, which is really cool. I had you have kind of a problem with them actually calling him Doug. Like, how are they explain that Titanus Doug? It's such a stupid name. It's a fan given name. If they want to keep with like the version of the movie being, Doug. Oh yeah, and I also came up with this theory, or not really came up with. I'm sure someone else saw this. If you compare the images of the poster where King Kong or Godzilla, the teaser poster with his paw print, and then you compare it to side by side to Doug's head, it looks like Doug is just a smaller, non-irradiated version of Godzilla. So maybe since there's a son of Kong, there's also going to be a son of Godzilla, which I don't think I want. At least it doesn't look like me. I think Doug would be a cool, and that kind of explains why Doug is such a goofy name, because he's a smaller version of Godzilla, kind of like Manila is kind of goofy. It's just, this is a lot of theorizing. I don't know. I'm going places with this. If you compare their two heads, it looks a lot. It looks kind of a lot similar. So that's why I think Doug might be the son of Godzilla, and Godzilla thinks this whole rest of his species is gone. But in the Hollow Earth we see, the mini version of Godzilla, and that's basically how that happens. Also, if you see another, I don't know why I'm going all the way back or backtracking back to Star King again, just from remembering in the poster with the handprint's red. So, and also the handprints on there are red. So, that's why it's not the red fur that's making the red. The handprints on the wall are blood. That just brings the whole thing full circle, especially on the walls. Like, that's not Kong, yeah, because he has blood on his hands. That is why, he's not red, like, just because it's a mid-rate, like, energy that makes weird handprints. No, he is wearing the blood of his enemies as a battle, paint kind of thing. And that honestly is such a cool concept. Honestly, I'm actually starting to get really excited for this movie. I was first skeptical, and I was like, "What is this? This is like compare this to 2014 Godzilla, and it's like, what in the world what is happening with the MonsterVerse?" I have yet to get to Monarch Legacy of Monsters because I don't have Apple TV Plus right now. I will get it, and I might do a review. I don't know if it's worth doing because I've heard a lot of things where it's not really centered around Godzilla or Kong. It's just bunch of family drama and all that. And I don't know if I really wanted to see that, but I'm sure there'll be some nice destruction scenes and stuff because it has nice reviews. So there's that. And the thing is, it'll all circulate and come together in this really good movie. And I think that this will be a really cool movie. That the only reason I really was skeptical is because I just got off of seeing Godzilla minus one. It was such a good movie. It's like it's kind of hard to compare this to that. Within the span of a couple months. If Godzilla minus one came out later, we wouldn't think, "Oh, Godzilla Kong looks so stupid." No, we would be saying, "Oh, cool, this is fun. We're getting a new Godzilla movie." Now we have two Godzilla movies and one to compare to, something better looking to compare to. Then it gets kind of biased and all that. So anyway, that's been the first episode of actual Godzilla talk. I'm Tanner, the Godzilla talker. Peace out.